Netflix has built a reputation over the years for being the best streaming platform in the world, with it being available in up to 130 countries. For a long time, it was considered to be without a doubt the most popular, user-friendly, and honestly, just the most loved streaming platform out there, being miles ahead of Hulu. But for the past months, all that has changed. Netflix has been getting more and more hate, and while it might be a little bit clickbaity to say that Netflix has fallen, it is definitely on a massive decline. But why? How can a company that single-handedly changed the way we think about content fall so heavily? Why did their loyal fans suddenly turn against them? Well, all those questions are about to get answered in this video. But before we can discuss their decline, we first need to understand what made people love them in the first place. The year was 1997, and a young man named Reed Hastings had just sold his company Pure Atria for a record-breaking $750 million. But he still wanted more. One day, Reed and his friend from Pure Atria, Mark Randolph, were driving together. In the car, Reed pitched an idea. He had just had to pay $40 for returning a copy of Apollo 13 late to his local Blockbuster, and knew there had to be a better way to rent movies. He had an idea for a subscription-based online DVD rental store, and it was going to change the world. Mark loved the idea, and they decided to call it Netflix. Netflix had a bunch of different business models at first, which they constantly changed. But after a bunch of market research and experimentation, they finally settled on a $19.95 a month subscription where you could rent as many movies as you wanted through the internet, but only have 3 DVDs at a time. But the most important part of this business model was that there were no late fees and no stress. People loved the idea, and a bunch of people switched from Blockbuster to Netflix. When Netflix finally landed on a business model they liked, they went all in on marketing. In fact, for the first few years, the money they spent on marketing was 3 times as much as the money they brought in. They played ads on TV and on the radio, they placed banner ads online, and they even worked with some huge companies like Sony, HP, and even Apple. They even made a deal with companies that every one of their DVD players came with a Netflix coupon. They spent so much money on marketing that for the first few years, they didn't earn a dollar, and instead just relied on the money Reed got for selling his share of his Pure Atria. But it was worth it, because from then on, they consistently made tens of millions of dollars. And even right now, they're making up to $11 billion a year. When the internet became fast enough to stream content, Netflix started to grow massively. They were the only legal website where people could stream movies, so the market was all theirs. Even though they had quite literally no real competition which could threaten them, they still made their website super user-friendly and made their pricing pretty fair. Another advantage they had at that time was that because there was no streaming competition, they could easily get the rights to almost any TV show or movie they wanted. I don't mean to sound like an old man, but does someone else remember the good old days when Netflix had almost every hit TV show? I mean, there was a time when they had Breaking Bad, How I Met Your Mother, Malcolm in the Middle, Friends, One Punch Man, The Office, and Scrubs, all at the same time. They still have some of those shows, but most of them have left to other streaming services, which I'll talk more about later. And by the way, just a quick little side note about Breaking Bad. After they released their 3rd season, AMC were thinking about canceling the show. However, after Netflix got the rights to Breaking Bad, the show became so popular that AMC immediately stopped thinking about canceling it. So maybe we have Netflix to thank for one of the greatest shows of all time. But yeah, during this time, things were going great for Netflix. They became available in more and more countries, and more people were even canceling cable and just using Netflix, which is understandable when you compare the two services at the time. You could either buy a Netflix subscription for a couple bucks a month and get access to like a million different movies and TV shows, or you could pay up to $120 a month for cable, which is jam-packed with ads. It's no wonder that people just watch Netflix. During this time, Netflix was thriving, and you can see it with their stock price, which again leads to the question, what the hell happened? Well, there were many factors in why people eventually turned on them. For starters, Netflix could not just stick a price. Netflix has 3 subscription packages: Basic, Standard, and Premium. I'm not even going to mention the Basic package because it doesn't include HD streaming, so it streams in 480p, which is not acceptable in 2022. The Standard package comes with HD, and you can stream with 2 devices at the same time. This package was introduced in 2010 and has changed prices 6 times. It went from $7.99 to $8.99 to $9.99 to $10.99, to $12.99, and then finally in 2022, it went to $15.49. Now, I completely understand that all companies have to up their prices in order to keep up with inflation. But as a consumer, these constant price increases just seem a bit greedy, and it just seems like they don't know how to manage their money. Because when you see articles that say Netflix spent $30 million on an episode on the newest season of Stranger Things, and then the next day you see that they're upping their prices, it just looks like they're trying to spend way too much on unnecessary stuff, and then making up for it by increasing the prices. So, as a consumer, you kind of feel like you're being punished for their financial recklessness. It's no wonder they had a net loss of subscribers for the first time in 10 years.
For the first time in more than a decade, Netflix lost subscribers, 200,000 of them. The stunning decline sending the media giant stock nosediving 35% today.
The second reason for their decline is, ironically, that they need to spend this much money on original content. Although the public might not feel like it, Netflix unfortunately needs to spend up to $30 million an episode on Stranger Things. That is because sooner or later, almost every hit TV show or movie they made by a big studio is gonna leave Netflix to go to the studio's new streaming service. For example, The Office left to Peacock, Friends went to HBO Max, and every Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars movie has left to Disney+. Netflix needs to make original content to make people stay. And that's why Netflix spends so much money on making their own content. They are desperately hoping that the next show turns out to be the next Stranger Things, Squid Game, Tiger King, or Jeffrey Dahmer, because sooner or later, that might be all they have. This has eaten heavily into their growth and is the main reason for the third reason people are starting to dislike Netflix. The third reason is maybe the straw that broke the camel's back. Because other new streaming services have eaten into their growth so much, Netflix has been looking for another revenue stream. And they think they found it. Netflix estimates that over 100 million households share Netflix passwords, and they have recently told the public that they plan to crack down on those households and make everyone pay for their Netflix subscription. People hated this. This just reaffirmed people's belief that Netflix is a greedy corporation that only cares about getting every last dollar from every one of their consumers. And it didn't help when Netflix offered a new subscription plan that was just $6.99 and included ads. I hate using this sentence, but we live in a society where people associate ads with free things like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So when Netflix offers a paid subscription with ads, it just doesn't sit right with people. But if I'm being honest, Netflix ad subscription doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, I still get where people are coming from. If I'm being honest, I don't really see a future for Netflix in the next 10 years, but who knows? Hopefully they can turn things around and get back to the same old Netflix they used to be. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I'm not even kidding, but 99.9% of you are not subscribed. So if you enjoyed the video, then it would mean so much to me if you considered subscribing. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike it if you didn't. Have a good day, and goodbye.